Hello everybody, welcome back to the Film Custodian Show. And really quick, I'm going to talk about Carnival Row, Season 2, the final couple episodes. My other video, I believe, was 1 through 6, so this is 7 through 10. And kind of a recap of, really, it's kind of just a quick video about the entire Season 2. This is one of the best shows that nobody's watching. Let's just put it that way. I think Season 1 was really good. Well, first let's start with the premise. So this is like, imagine Middle-earth, but then the industrial age comes around and, you know, now they have weapons. And you kind of go, it's like the Victorian age, but you've got fairies and centaurs and all this kind of stuff. And, you know, imagine if Saruman got his way and like Middle-earth became industrialized and technology advanced and you got guns and a very, very interesting fantasy world that I really love. And it's a shame it wasn't explored more because yes, Season 2, this season's the final season. So it's done with, and it's a shame. I've been singing the praises of Orlando Bloom. I think this is his best starring role. You know, in second, I guess, would be Kingdom of Heaven. I thought he was good in that film, but he was ultimately the weak link in Kingdom of Heaven. Go check out that movie. It's a good movie. So Orlando Bloom really shines. He's the detective. He's sort of the Sherlockian type of character doing the detective work. And Season 2 brings all that back from Season 1. I mean, and that was one of the problems with Season 1, was that there was just too much plot going on. So you have a mystery, you have, you know, a murder mystery, you have a monster going on, you're dealing with Orlando Bloom, his character, his backstory. You've got Cara Delevingne, or I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but you have her character as well and her past and how she's connected with Orlando Bloom, and they have a love story going on. You have all these different threads, all these different plots. And there was just a lot of stuff, and it didn't really concentrate too well on the main story, which wasn't all that interesting, which was the murder story, the murder mystery side of it, the detective work, so to speak. Everything else around that, I think that was more interesting, especially, you know, like the war between the Bug, which is the city that they're at, with, you know, the Pact, and they're in the land of Turnanuk, which is where all the magical creatures are. And that was all interesting. I wanted to see more of that. We got like 5 more minutes of that in Season 2, so that was disappointing. So the show never really did reach its final potential, but its full potential wasn't reached just because it could get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. But ultimately, they just stuck. They really just want to tell a story in the row, you know, about this area, which is cut off from the rest of the city, you know, Carnival Row, the ghetto area where you have everybody is, you know, put in jail. It's not jail, but yeah, it's like everyone's kind of held in there with barbed wire. You know, none of the fae creatures can, you know, which are the magical creatures, none of them can go anywhere. And it's the conflict between, you know, magical creatures and humans, and, you know, all the themes of, you know, xenophobia and racism and classism and all these other isms and all these things. So yeah, you have all this kind of political stuff going on and political intrigue and whatnot. They introduce a new monster. They bring back the detective side of things. So they have all the same elements as Season 1, but I think it was more concentrated, more focused, and in the end, I think it was a better season. It was a better show. I think the show did manage to grow. Didn't quite reach its full potential. I think there could have been more, but I think that would probably take more seasons. Season 3, Season 4. It could have gone on for a while, but ultimately they chose to end it. And you can kind of see that when you get halfway through the season. There's 10 episodes. By episode 5, it's like everybody kind of takes a quick 360 turn, or like a 180. Like, why are Orlando Bloom and Cara suddenly, like, why are they suddenly splitting up? Why is can't remember her name, but these two characters, why are they suddenly splitting up? Well, it's because they need some final motivation to kind of take it to the end. So some of that was very artificially put in. It didn't happen organically. It was very much like, well, we need these characters to feel like they might not be together so that they can, you know, so that there's some tension going into the final couple episodes. And it did work, but you can feel the artifice of it, that it didn't really happen organically, because they had to speed track everything. They didn't have any more seasons to do, so and because originally I think they were counting on getting another season, but during the pandemic, when everything stopped, they went back and rewrote what it looks to me like I said, like the later half of the season, so that they can just finish it off and be done with the show. But I think in the end, I love the show. I think it pays off. It does have a very good ending, except for a couple things which were really dumb. I think there was a couple decisions in there that are pretty dumb, but otherwise it was really good. I was happy with how they ended everybody's stories, everybody's characters. I don't want to give too much away. I mean, there's a really cool monster in there that's really creepy and freaky, and for the most part, I mean, some of the actors that were, I think, crap in the first season were a lot more improved in this season. They did a better job, and they also expanded their characters. They weren't as two-dimensional. They were had a fully rounded story, and they were good. I think one of the better stories too is the Constable. I can't remember the character's name, but he's a terrible person. He's a complete asshole through season 1 and most of season 2 until Orlando Bloom, his character Philo, Philo Magistrate or Mycroft Philostrate, yeah, Mycroft. He basically is like, I gotta go save this guy because my crazy girlfriend is gonna try to kill him. I mean, and ultimately it's like, I owe you my life, and so he gets over his, biases and prejudices and becomes a really likable character by the end of it. So that was a really cool character arc for him. I think Orlando Bloom, ultimately, it's like, he's struggling between two worlds, being half fae and half human, and he has to deal with that. And then you have Stone Moss's character. She basically is just... The core of the show has always been Orlando Bloom and her. That's their love story. It has always been sort of the core, and everything else is kind of around that. Well, ultimately, that comes into conflict a couple times. So she'll always choose, the Fae, her own kind, over, humans, which means ultimately over Philo. And so that conflict kind of works. It works half the time it doesn't work. And like I said earlier, there's a couple of decisions in there that just doesn't make any sense in terms of writing, where, now it's like, well, she has to decide to do this over this, and it's like, it just doesn't always work. But no, I mean, the art direction of the show is really, really done well. The CGI is done well. This is like the first season, there was some really sketchy CGI, but the CGI everything was really improved with this show, and I recommend it. I think it's a good show. If you like fantasy, if you like political intrigue, if you like, it's not Game of Thrones, okay? I mean, I think, before Amazon got their hands on Lord of the Rings, they were hoping that Carnival Row would take off and be kind of their Game of Thrones. And they even used some of the same strategies that Game of Thrones initially used. Like, they cast Sean Bean, who was a veteran of the Lord of the Rings, so they got Orlando Bloom, who's a veteran of Lord of the Rings as well. So you attach them to the project, and then, go from there. Yeah, this is a really good show. I enjoy it. I recommend it. It's over now, so you can just binge the whole thing and be done with it. Yeah, that's all I gotta say on that.